We all know he wouldn't land it properly.
Thank you for watching Kevin's show about Mythbusters.
I'm not as good at it.
Thank you for watching Kevin's show about Mythbusters.
Hey everybody, Kevin here. It has been a while since I've released a video. That's okay. Lots of stuff going on in the personal life, lots of changes, all good. I'm very excited about everything that's coming up. I'll tell you more about it in the future. But the most relevant factor to today's video, I'm sort of transitioning from my home office to full-time in the studio, doing all sorts of projects, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's just talk about this new setup. Got a new backdrop here that I've been working on. At my home office, I always had some shelves in the background with lots of items that have value to me for whatever reason, whether it's sentimental value, whether it's inspiration and motivation, things that have gotten me excited. I talked a little bit about that on my little Witch King of Angmar video. He's like hanging out right back here. I don't have a lot on the shelves yet, but that's, part of what this video is all about. These two items are related to a television show many of you have probably heard of, many of you have probably watched, and that show is called Mythbusters. So let's take a look here. These are bobbleheads I ordered off of eBay not too long ago. They are in theory new in box, but I don't intend to keep them boxed. I ordered them for sentimental and nostalgic value, not for collectible value. There is a difference. There's one. There's Adam, a little Adam Savage, now of Tested fame. Tested has been a big motivating factor for me launching this channel. I pay attention to a lot of what they do and how they do it. I don't have any intention of mimicking them necessarily because I'm not Adam Savage, but I do have an interest in a lot of the same things. Shout out to Norm for all of his superb VR videos. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my history with Mythbusters. The year was maybe 2007, 2008. I was flipping through channels on my TV at home one day, one night, I don't remember exactly, but I know the episode that caught my attention. It was all about Jawbreakers, the candy, and what would happen if you heat one up and chew on it. And, I saw them sticking stuff in a microwave, the Jawbreaker in a microwave. I saw mechanical jaws. I saw a Jawbreaker explode and burn people on the face. This was one of the most unique things I'd ever seen on television, and it dated back to a myth that I had heard before. And so I was like, this is fascinating. Let's keep watching it. So I did. I probably watched Discovery at the time was having Mythbusters marathons right and left, and it couldn't have been more than like season 3 or 4. But Mythbusters, for whatever reason, just settles into that like corner of my brain that asks questions and tries to figure out how to answer them and wants to have fun doing it and wants to film it while you do it. I should stop. Mythbusters was more or less like YouTube before there was YouTube, right? Especially as they got going, there were lots of different segments. I still say the most brilliant aspect of the show is that 95% of it, maybe 98% of it, is stating the myths, testing the myths, hijinks and builds throughout. But then they spend only like 10 or 20 seconds answering whether the myth is confirmed, plausible, or busted. And so all these years later, I can remember, I mean, I've seen every episode now many, many times. And I can tell you every week it comes up, hey, Mythbusters tested that. You know what? Mythbusters tested that. I remember Mythbusters tested that. But it's always a little bit tricky for me anyway, to remember whether it was plausible, busted, or confirmed. Like they spend so little time specifically answering that question. I think this is what lends itself to Mythbusters' eternal rewatchability. Because you can remember the myths, you can remember a lot of the techniques they used to test them, but it's a little bit tricky to remember what the final verdict was. And so I think you can watch them anew regularly and not quite remember, or at least I can't. I'm gonna open these up, and as I do so, I'll tell you about why this really became important to me. And like I said, it was 2007, 2008. I was fairly recently divorced at that point. I had 2 daughters, elementary school age, early elementary school age. And, I was with them, half the week. Custody was 50-50. That's going to make a lot of noise. So with shared custody, they were at my house, every other weekend, and I had Monday and Tuesday nights, but their mom lived a little far from home. So, we didn't come back to my house Mondays and Tuesdays. We spent a lot of time at my parents' house where we had dinner and they did homework and all of that fun stuff. But that meant every other Saturday and Sunday they were with me at home. And so Saturday nights, somehow at some point, I introduced them to Mythbusters, and they thoroughly enjoyed it, and they thought it was funny, and they were curious to find out if these myths were true. Most of them they could never have known about in the past. I mean, maybe exploding jawbreaker was something they were familiar with, but most of these concepts they didn't know anything about. But the storytelling was so perfect that they were drawn right in. They liked the scientific method being applied. We talked about it all the time, and we tried to guess, is this going to be busted or confirmed? What do you think? And it was fun, and it became a bonding moment for us. It became a shared experience. We, every Saturday night I had a couple recorded, and we watched new episodes from, probably like 2008 until it ended. I mean, it was a big event, the last episode of Mythbusters, and my family invited my parents over, and me and the girls, we all sat around and watched the final episode together. And so, it just has obviously entertainment value to me, but it also has so much sentimental value and nostalgia of those moments where I got to spend time with my kids and feel like a good parent. Like it or not, Mythbusters is a science show, and it is better than most of what was on TV at the time, as far as educating your children, at least in my opinion. So there's Jamie. This is making me giggle. Their heads are a bobbling. There weren't a lot of shows on at the time that we could all watch together. I think there weren't a lot of shows we could all watch together that were entertaining to all of us to a fairly equal degree. I think the only one I can remember was maybe Phineas and Ferb, because Phineas and Ferb was a cartoon. It was smart. It was sort of meta before that was a thing, constantly focused on itself and its own storytelling, and I thought it was brilliant. They thought it was funny. We all thought it was entertaining. So that was one show, and then Mythbusters became the other. And, as kids grow up, their tastes change, and they started to watch different things. But Mythbusters, maybe, somewhat convinced. My youngest daughter was watching it to humor me, but she's now in college trying to get an engineering degree. So subliminally, we got her. All right, so here's Adam and Jamie. But, you know, here we are 15 years later. I still watch Mythbusters all the time. I enjoy it. I often have it on the computer while I'm writing code late at night because it's a comforting presence in the background. Adam obviously does Tested now, and I watch every video that Tested puts out. Some of them are far more entertaining than others. I tend to like his shop infrastructure videos more so than some of his prop builds, just because those are more relevant to me. I don't have any ambition of designing movie props. But I make a joke, I think I wrote a blog about it at some point, that Mythbusters and Tested, those shows and the things they're making and the things they're building are kind of like what This Old House was to my dad. Like every Sunday morning, my dad would watch This Old House religiously. And I found it so boring. I was like, why on earth would you watch this every week? But then he would go and he would do all sorts of projects in the house and redo the bathroom and put up new cabinets. And so he was learning things that were relevant and interesting to him. And that's exactly what Mythbusters and Tested are to me. Like, I'm learning so many of the same fundamental concepts of building. How do you put wood, you know, how do you create joints? How do you use glue? How do you do all these things? But it's in, I'm learning about it through topics that are more interesting to me than home repair, right? Like, I'm fascinated by how you machine a lightsaber, because it's Star Wars, and it's like things that I've experienced and grown up with and been a big fan of. Whereas he would learn it to maybe put a new pipe fitting or a new stair railing banister in his house, you know? So it's the same ideas, the same concepts, the same interest in making that we share, just taught a little differently. And that was an interesting connection to make. Made me feel a lot closer to my dad in a lot of ways. That brings it back to me, Mythbusters. The reason these guys mean so much to me, the reason the show means so much to me, is not only its entertainment value, but just this bond that it created between me and my kids, and that will always be there. No matter what happens to the show, my daughters and I will always be able to look back and say, hey, remember when we watched Mythbusters all the time? So anyway, that's why I have these bobbleheads. That's why they've earned a spot on my shelf. I want to say thank you to Jamie and to Adam and to Carrie and Tori and Grant Imahara. Thank you to all the producers, to anyone who wrote anything for the show, to all the camera people. Thank you to Buster, obviously, for all the laughs. And thank you to, I don't know, duct tape. There's a lot of duct tape in Mythbusters. In any case, thank you all. You produce some fantastic television. You've given so much to so many people. The show was educational, it was motivational, it was entertaining, and more than anything, it gave me wonderful memories with my kids and inspired them to do some amazing things. So, thank you. Long live Mythbusters. And let's find a place to put these guys on my shelf. We'll put them right there. I'm Kevin. Thanks for watching the channel. Take care. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. As you know, this YouTube channel is all about me and the things that interest me. But some of what interests me happens elsewhere. This is a magical amulet from a series we're producing called Thera. And obviously, as you can tell, this one's not magical. It's 3D printed. It doesn't have the swirling rings or blue orbs that the real one does. But if you want to see how the real one works, visit Amulet Studios. You see, that's Amulet Studios. Crazy self-promotion here, right? But Amulet Studios is a company I founded with a buddy of 20 years, Brian Dean. He has worked on huge animated movies like Ice Age and Into the Spider-Verse. Together we are trying to make virtual production and animated shorts, features, and series using Unreal Engine. We're just getting started. It's Amulet Studios, amuletstudios.com. All the links will be in the description. Take a look, see if you find something that interests you. We hope to start releasing more content regularly in the very near future. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking us out. Oh, and look, we have a poster. That's the real Amulet. That's Marlene. She's kind of a badass. But the Amulet's cool too because it glows and swirls. Go check it out. Our trailer's already up.